my gosh, I played the wrong intro. This is not Antoinette. This is Layne with me. Hi, Layne.
I
Okay, so Layne Smith Brown is a author of Weird Hummingbirds. She's awesome human being. I would love for all of you to read the book, and you're all going to find out how very deeply connected to her journey and process and Layne is, and the astounding insights. So I'm looking forward to talk to you because we've connected way back when we were both writing our books, and it's always very special to me. So welcome, Layne.
thanks. Glad to be
Okay.
here.
All right. So on last week Tuesday on the live, somebody remarked, "How do you not damage your children? How do you not?" Well, in my email I wrote, "How do you not take out your shit on them?" Because that's really what it is.
Indeed.
So how do you not damage your children because you still have wounds that you are carrying with you? It's a really good topic, isn't it?
It is. And more parents need to be having this conversation.
Yeah, I think the whole human world has
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
in on it. Yeah, because you know what, from my point of view, I'm coming from a place where like most other people, where I've been brought up by well meaning people who were just trying to get through life themselves. They had a lot of wounds and they were just doing it day to day to day, but with the best intentions for us as children. That I know for sure.
Mhm.
No matter what their struggles was, I know they didn't have children to not treat them well. They had good intentions, but like most people, they just didn't have enough tools, even although they were decent people.
Mhm.
And then the children have got the fallout, and it really depends on how deep your wounds are, because that's going to determine how much you're going to take out on your children.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So from your experience, you've you've just been one of our summit speakers, and we've been talking about trauma to triumph. So if anybody's been watching, then they're going to recognize you, and then hopefully they've all listened to your story because it's deeply moving and very inspirational. So you had a similar kind of experience where you've come from trauma and had to really rebuild yourself.
Yeah. I think the most meaningful thing to me in the work that I'm doing is to have been able to do enough work on myself to recognize what you just said, that most of us have been raised by disconnected people. Through no fault of their own, these kinds of conversations were not being had when my parents were young. Expectations were very different than they are now.
Yeah,
And then they had
exactly.
that influence of whatever their religion or their culture said was okay. People weren't talking through their feelings. It wasn't as nurturing an environment for a lot of us as it is for kids now. And so for me, I've gotten to a place that I believe that everything that I have experienced, all of those horrible things, has made me who I am. So I've redeemed that stuff for myself. And that allows me to live in a very, very powerful place. So I don't have to keep going back to that. But that's on the heels of a lot of work. Okay.
Absolutely.
So when you pose this idea of this show, and knowing that parents have these questions about how do I not like mess up my kids, it's it's like there's no cut and dried response to that because every kid is traumatized by completely different things, right? So so I've come to this place where if if all we did as adults when we're dealing with little kids especially, and maybe this is something that could become even an evening ritual, is to ask questions like, did anything embarrassing or confusing happen to you today? Did did anything make you feel something that you didn't want to feel? so that you're actually recognizing the fact that this kid has feelings, and that you open the door to, oh, you can actually talk about those feelings. I can't imagine what that would have been like as a kid, because I was scared, I was confused, I was embarrassed, I was so many different emotions, and I just went to bed by myself and then piled on a whole bunch of other disconnection the next day and the next day and the next day, so that when I get to my 20s and my 30s, I'm trying to dissect all of that stuff. What if we're raising kids or nieces and nephews, or kids from friends that we know, that we just, as an adult, come by and acknowledge that they might have had something upsetting happen to them today, but they've, without the tools of being asked to question it, they'll just push it down.
That reminds me of something that Afi said. You know, in her very traumatizing circumstances, she had one teacher who noticed her,
Mm.
and it was a pivotal thing. That one teacher who saw something in her and encouraged her, and one social worker who said, this is not right.
Yeah.
So one social worker outside of her family, so anybody can do that. But I mean, we're talking about parents. Layne, don't you think it's really important that we start opening the door so that people can start becoming aware that it's not necessary to squish all of that stuff under the carpet, like lumpy carpet syndrome, because all the elephants are underneath it. And that there is actually, it's changed. It's not the way it was when we were small. You're so right.
Yeah.
We can all get help. When you sit and listen to stuff like this, or you read the right books, not any fluffy book, but the right books.
Yeah.
And you start becoming aware that there's more.
Yeah.
You are able to change your life. You are able to change the life of a lot of people around you when you change your own life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have not had kids. So this any advice that I'm going to give or anything I'm going to talk about is probably more in the context of watching my sister raise her kids and see how she navigated all of that, because we had different experiences as children, but still some overlap, right? And she took it upon herself to ask her kids questions. She validated what they were feeling. But I'll tell you a funny little story. In Even though she was a really, really awesome mother and she did all kinds of things right, it's always fascinating to me how kids actually take in information. And so the kids were in junior high school, and she asked them, after, incredible birthday parties and incredible connection and lots of conversations and lots of individual time alone and all these wonderful things that we wish our parents had done for us. She asked her son, what was like the biggest memory you have growing up, and she's thinking he's going to talk about going to parks and going hiking and all these wonderful things. And he says, it was the day you lost your shit at the grocery store. And she's just like, what? Like, out of all the wonderful things that you experienced as a child, that's what you remember. But we hold on to things that had an emotional impact. So it was such a different experience for him than what he was being raised in, that it actually went in as a really significant memory. If he'd grown up in an abusive situation, that probably wouldn't have registered at all. So I'm just saying that because your kids are going to get a little messed up. It doesn't really matter. Like, you can have all of your great intentions and you just have no idea how they're going to take it in. But I think continuing with that the process of having those kinds of conversations, being willing to ask them questions, and then when they get to a place where they're old enough to comprehend, to admit that you haven't figured it all out. Parents tend to think that, they're supposed to just be the all-knowing beings. That's a tremendous amount of pressure, because nobody gave you a manual on how to raise your kids.
Especially not 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah. You know, so it's like at some point, my sister just sat her kids down and said, I'm a grown woman. I have my own needs and wants. And then we have to be able to talk to each other about what it is we need from each other. So
But so, Layne, I mean, the fact whether you have children or not, the thing is that we all come from our own experiences. So if you come from being a child, and and you have to say what would have made the biggest impact. I mean, I think you've already said it is being noticed, and then the other thing which I think is really important. How great would it have been if you were noticed and accepted for you? If who you were was known, it was noticed, it was accepted, and it was celebrated. You were not just one of a pack, but you were Layne, not a weird hummingbird, an amazing hummingbird. I mean, wouldn't that have made the world of difference to you?
certainly, I mean, it's like that. I mean, that's true for every child and every adult. We want to be seen. That's just such a core value, you know. Um, I guess where I'm coming from is you do your own work and and then be honest with your kids, you know.
Yes.
Give them. It's like their needs might be different than what your needs were. So there's all kind there, it's delicate, right? The things that you really needed from your parents aren't necessarily what your kids need from you because they're a different being. But everybody wants to feel safe. Everybody wants to feel seen. Everybody wants to feel heard. Like those are just universal things. So do that for your kids, you know?
Yeah.
Like Johnny isn't the same as Sam, you know. They're not just little cookie cutters of themselves.
Yes.
And
Absolutely. Love it.
so, I mean, as a parent, and if you've got all kinds of other things going on, I don't honestly know what are the tools to be able to do that, depending on how many kids you have and how different they are. But I think that combination of taking some time with them during the course of the day and ask them questions, but be present when you're listening so that you can actually put some stuff together. Not just throwing a question out while you're madly making dinner or madly getting other shit done, right? It's like that whole idea of being present with whoever you're with. That's where the magic happens,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because these, our core injuries that causes all our limiting beliefs stems from this very place. Because if you do, if you receive or you don't receive these two very valuable things, then there's fallout from it. So if you get time from your parents, from anybody, it tells you that you are important. And when you know that you are important, then you are not you don't always have to try harder. Then you actually know that you are a valuable human being. So that's like the first stepping stone of building self-esteem in a child, and for them to feel that they are worthy. And the second one is total and whole acceptance of that human being as a human being, whether you like it or not, whether you accept, whether you want them to be different or not. It's that acceptance. This is it, because that tells them they're good enough. When they know they are worthy, they know they are good enough.
Mhm.
You can do a lot of things wrong, but your children are going to get through it. Those two things.
Yeah, because it builds resilience, right? It
Yeah.
gives them something solid to stand on that mom and dad or caregiver or whoever it happens to be can have a really crappy day. And that's not about me, it's about them, right? So that you don't all take it personally. I took everything personally in my home. If my parents were having an argument, if my dad was in a bad mood, if my mom was confused or she was crying, it was all my fault because nobody talked to me. So you carry this incredible weight with you through your whole adulthood, where you think you're now responsible for everyone around you. Really messes you up, right? So to
Yeah,
be
it
able
does.
to have those tools as a kid that says, mom's having her own experience, auntie's having her own experience. and we can talk it through.
Yeah, and you are a kid. You are a kid. You must be a kid. Don't take your problems on you, on me, on you. My
Yeah.
problems is mine as the adult. Don't take my problems. Go be a kid. I
Yeah.
mean, that, because if you don't do them, then everybody ends up with adult-child syndrome, which is why everybody's got adult-child syndrome, because we had to be little adults before we were ready.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the question. So now we're talking to this person who hasn't worked through her stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and fears damaging her children because she's losing her shit all over. I mean, this is not her words. This is just me talking in general about what people do. We lose our shit all over. It's in the parking lot. It is the guy who swerves in front of us while we're driving. It is on the phone. It is, we're just losing our shit. We are very highly triggerable. And unfortunately, we're going to take it out on the people nearest to us, which is not only our children, it's our deepest relationships, it's the people that we love the most, it's our family. They are going to be triggering us the most because they've got the capability to hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to take it on the dog because we're going to kick the dog for no reason or be harsh. So, I think this is the really important one to come back to. There's childcare, and there is fix yourself so that you can show up without triggers, and you can show up with so much more love because you have learned to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big one. Learn to love yourself and neutralize all your hurts and pains so you don't have anything to take out on people. That's the real ideal, isn't it?
Well, and don't you wish everybody was doing that before they had kids or before they like got married or joined into a partnership? Is when we spend that energy getting healthy and becoming this whole vibrant, resilient human being, then we are going to relate to everyone differently and serve as a bit of a guide for those who haven't done that work. It's right.
Yeah.
Nobody's going, like, kids aren't going to complete you. A mate is not going to complete you. You have to complete yourself, right? So there's so many people in they're drawn to being in a marriage or in a relationship because they think it will fix something. It will make them less lonely. It will make them less disconnected. It'll feed, like fill all those holes that were left in kidhood. All it's going to do is just make all that stuff way, 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 way bigger. Plus, you've now made an eternal commitment to somebody. It's like, this is not an easy place to do your work. So if anybody out there doesn't have kids, but they're thinking about having kids, it's like, this is even more impetus to really, really dig in and start creating some tools for yourself so that you can navigate this better. I can't imagine what the pressure cooker is when you've got screaming kids in the house and you've had a really, really crappy day. I don't know that you can just navigate that like, I'm just going to be perfect through this whole thing and I'm never going to screw up,
Yeah,
but
because we are human, but if we have less triggers and we are happier inside ourselves and we've learned a few coping skills and a few better tools, the ones that our parents didn't have, then we can navigate through that 90% of the time, 95% of the time. And then there's a few days when you're going to lose it, but you're going to be forgiven because you are doing it right most of the time. Like going on a diet, but you've got you do have a little bit of time off too, because then it's fine. It's not going to ruin everything. So let's take a look at our questions here.
Okay.
We've got some comments here. I'm going to show you the comments now. Okay, so we're going to go and look at the comments. Let me get my glasses on. Okay, so we can look at our comments. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Som. Okay, everybody, if you haven't read Som's books, you have to go read them now. My husband's his biggest fan, I'm telling you. And I'm like Som's biggest fan because Som's books, it's focusing my husband every single morning. So I'm like your biggest fan ever. Hi, Renee. Nice to see you. You know what, Renee? You should come inside the studio because you have got some magnificent stories to tell about bringing up children. and how you do it differently once you've learned about adult child syndrome. Okay. Hi, Isabella. Nice to see you. Hi, there's Antoinette, everybody. Okay, so Antoinette, I don't know if you can listen. If you're just reading lips, there. Oh, so you're listening. Good. Okay, there. Yeah, imagine being able to talk about your feelings as a child. Yes, apologize. You won't melt. You won't melt. You teach your children it is fine to apologize. It's like amazing.
Yeah, your kids need to know you're a full-fledged human being, not this idealized being, because otherwise they think, like, when you screw up, when you do something that's violent or whatever it happens to be, they think, oh, that's okay, because you're this, all you are is this authority figure. And I don't know where the age is where you can comfortably have honest conversations with your children, but they need to know that you haven't figured it all out and you're still dealing with stuff. So we need to talk about it. Yeah.
You have to be honest as early as possible, because, I work with adults who tells me about their experiences at 3 years old and 4 years old. And okay, they struggle to remember before that, but some of them know that there was something before that. And so we have to be as honest as we possibly can be, age appropriate, because it's this thing that we walk around and we all pretend that we are okay, just so that we don't get judged. We're so scared of being judged if we ask for help, if we say something is hard, if we say I'm having a rough day, So we keep up these pretenses, and inside, and so deep that sometimes we can't even find it. We've got this hole and this mess and this uncertainty, and we feel like we don't fit in the world. But on the outside, so we're so beautiful and so organized, and like everything is perfect in my life. And let's go take a photo for Instagram.
Yeah. So, can you speak though to where's the line where some parents will use their kids as a dumping ground to work through their stuff?
Yeah,
it happened. Kids are not capable of holding that. So where's the line of being able to be human, but not using them as your counselor, right?
Yeah, no, I know what you say, because my mother put everything on me, and so I took complete responsibility for her, and I was very young. So it's that thing about saying, look, and I want to be even more specific here, because very often when a mother is divorced, or there's no more father, and there's sons in the house, when the boys get told, you're now the man of the house and mommy depends on you so much, and that boy instantly take on full responsibility no matter the age, and that is just not on. And I know so many do it with the best intentions, and like, let me build him up, let me encourage him, and let me teach him how to be a man. No, he's not a man, he's a child. If you go, my mother brought me all her problems, and then she told me, and you don't know this, everybody else has heard this, when I was 10, that this is where where everything is if she dies tonight, and I never slept after that. So it's just not on. It's not on. Yeah. Your children are supposed to be children. And you are supposed to say, Mommy and Daddy's having a fight, but it's not about you. You've got nothing to do with it. I am sorry you heard the fight. Unfortunately, sometimes people fight, but you did not cause it. You are my wonderful child. Go off and play, be a child. Me and Daddy will sort it out. Don't pretend it didn't happen. That mess up children, because now you stop believing your own judgment. People have just had a fight. It was hectic. And now they come out and they're like, okay, it's sunshine and roses. Everything is fine. Like, what did I just experience? I must be going crazy. It's like you lose such, you lose complete ability to trust yourself. You just can't do it. So it's really important that you be as honest as possible and take away the responsibility from himself and put it on you. Don't put it on them.
Mhm.
That answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, let's go find that next. We have a lot of comments. Okay. Okay, so that's on Antoinette for you. Okay. I don't know what was true. Unfortunately, we don't have a time thing here, but we like it that you agree with us. Yeah.
Mm.
Total acceptance. I think that was what you were saying, Layne.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's everything's about you. You're so
Yeah.
incredibly impressionable at that age, you know, and if you're navigating it all yourself, it's going to be incredibly confusing, and you will take that to your death if you haven't done the work to get, you know, to
Yeah.
work through it, to realize that your parents weren't connected. They were trying to figure it out on their own. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why my household was the way it was, you know. They didn't have the skill set, the tools, the knowledge to do it any differently, you
Yeah, and
know.
I think that comment is also, about taking it personally, which is what you've brought up. That is such a. I mean, I don't think we must just step away from it because that's the reason there's such a lot of unhappiness because we take everything personally. So whether you do it as a child and you've decided as a child, I caused this, but we take this habit into adulthood,
Yeah.
and then we are uppity about everything and we have reactions about everything and we have to dish out retribution about everything because we take everything personally. And it's not even about us, it's somebody else who's losing the shit and we make it about us.
Mhm.
And then it's one huge, big, messy hamster wheel. So I
Yeah.
only have one thing about it. If you walk away from what we are talking about today and you just make one resolution, and that's to not ever take anything personal again, not one thing, you are changing your life with one thing because your life will immediately get so much easier. I'm not saying you're going to be cured because those triggers are a nuisance to get rid of. And you've got to build self-esteem and you've got to tackle limiting beliefs, but just not taking stuff personally. Like they showed up late because are not important to them. That's now we have a long face and we like you bring me flowers, I'll throw it away. That's the kind of stupid things we do, and we do that because we take it personally. He was late because he can't organize his time, not because you're not organized, or you're not important, because he is not an organized person. That's all it means.
Mhm.
Nothing else. Don't throw the flowers away, go put them in the vase. And there, see, life is better. Now you have flowers. Yeah, the thing is this, if you are taking out stuff, you are going to take it out on everybody and everything around you. The dishwasher, the dogs, the cats, everything. Yeah, this is unfortunately okay. So if I have to tell you a second thing that you can do to stop to make your life immediately better, refuse to withdraw. Because once you refuse to withdraw, you need to go and find some adult tools, and your life is going to get better immediately. Because withdrawing is where you take away your power. The minute you withdraw, but
But you
what I
need
mean, what
to let go like that, though. You need to understand where it's coming from. If you can get to why you have that tendency, you at least have an opportunity to say that belief that I had or that behavior that I had was based on misinformation, right? Your ego is just trying to keep you in familiar states. So because it's developing this coping mechanism for you. And so I mean I hear you when it's like just stop doing it. But if this is really, really deep, this is why you want to be talking to somebody. This is why you want to be getting some level of guidance, whether it's a book or a course or whatever. But it's you need to be able to undo what was done. You need to replace it with truth, because there's so many lies that we have floating around in our subconscious brain that is telling us we are not valuable, that we are insignificant, that there's not a place for us, that we are not enough. And it plays into who we draw into our life, because on an energetic level, you keep attracting to yourself stuff that confirms what you already believe. So if you think you're insignificant or unworthy, you will draw a mate who disregards you, not because they don't love you, not because they intended to disregard you, but their behavior will manifest in such a way that it will create that feeling in you. So it's like he's having or she's having her own journey and you're having your own journey, but you're mirrors for each other, and all your triggers are going to get popped, and your kids are going to pop all your triggers, and your parents are going to pop all your triggers. This is our excuse to get at what's in there that's still alive, and you need to get rid of it and replace it.
I totally agree with you, and it is really hard to do this on your own. And unfortunately, we've got this. It's that thing that you said, we grow up and we totally believe everything is our responsibility. And therefore, even this very hard work where you need somebody outside you to show you clearly what you are missing in your blind spot, even then we still think, okay, let me grab a book and go fix myself. Or let me get well first and then I'll look for help. Or let me just do this all by myself. I'll read 50 books. I'll start from this side to the other side and I'll work through all of them. I'll do every course that comes past me, but I won't go and ask for actual help and let somebody else in, because then they're going to see what's going on inside. That's scary for people. But the more people who can actually do this and get a little bit of counseling, at least, if you can't do a lot of counseling. But this, I think, is why this is
do the work. Do the work that's in the book, right? A lot of us just read books, or we just take courses, or we listen to a podcast and we go, "Oh, that was a really great idea. That totally resonated," and then you just go on with your day. Do the work they're suggesting, because if they have any degree of experience, they've done this work and they know that it works. So then apply it. Do the application process, but just taking it in, or just having it pass through your whatever, isn't going to fix you, right?
No,
you need
you have
to start.
Something different.
You need to be exploring, and you need to be extricating that stuff, so that when you're having other conversations with other people, they're more meaningful, because you are you instead of whatever you learned to believe about yourself as a kid.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Okay, here's another one. There's a nice one for you. Okay, so the withdrawing thing, we've talked about it, so don't do it. Hi, Tracy. All right, so and I did the same. You did the same. Withdraw, just go and get in your bed and sleep. I realized I hurt my child. Yeah, and everybody does, Tracy. Everybody does, because we all just trying to do the best with the tools that we were delivered. If you haven't been given tools, you can't give them to your children.
Yeah.
Simple.
This is not a time for blame or shame. It's now it's about, okay, what do I do next? Because it's going to happen again. Somebody's going to see you again, right?
You know what I do? In the front of my book, in the foreword, I write, when you start reading this book, you're going to start feeling guilty. You're going to realize how many things you've done wrong. Doesn't matter. This book is about you, because you need to focus on you. Don't focus on all the mistakes that you've been making. Automatically, as you fix yourself, you will start doing things differently. You will not do the things, and you will repair your relationships.
I mean, here's my perspective on all of that screwing up that I did between 0 and 30 is it's made me who I am. And it's informed how I walk in the world. If I hadn't gone through those experiences, if I hadn't, quote unquote mistakes, it's like Everything in our life is redeemable. You do not have to regret. I know that this flies in the face of a lot of stuff, that when you've had a really traumatic experience as a kid and it feels like you just keep reliving it and reliving it and reliving, there is a way to get past it, because there is something that happened to you as a result of that experience that can make you an amazing human being in the world. We need people like you to say, you can get through this, right? And when you're in the pain, that's really, really hard to hear. But trust me, when you get enough experience behind you and you can see, like, oh my God, because I went through that, I know how to talk to this person. I know how to be in this situation. I know how I can be helpful here. And it's like, for me, it was incredibly freeing I could stop feeling sorry for myself, because really what I was doing is I was going to school, because there was a bigger work for me and a bigger dream for me that the universe had. And I needed that skill set in my life to be able to fulfill what I believe I'm here to fulfill. So that's my perspective. It's working for me. It's working for a few other people. And maybe that gives you some level of encouragement when you find yourself looking back and going, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, or I wish I hadn't experienced that. Get the nugget.
And it really is also what we've been doing with Summit, because every single person who came on had a story of messing up. Messing up in ways in which you would say there should be so much shame or regret. And there was nothing, just these awesome people getting to the other side. Now, everybody in that group has used their messes, how they messed up, and all their pain, and they have used it and they've transformed into people who has a powerful message and has been able to help everybody. I mean, Layne, the messages that I've been getting, the amount of people who say to me, I've never talked about this before. That person inspired me. This person made me think. This person helped me through a hard patch. I'm having a problem right now, and I'm just going to sit and watch this person because it's inspiring me so much. So it's so valid what you're saying, because if we all know it's possible, that's where we want to start. And then the second thing is, whatever has been hard for you is going to be your biggest fuel. Let's see what George says. Okay. Yeah, George, same thing, hey? You don't have to be hard on yourself, because we know better, we do better. Until we know better, we can't.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you can always go back and you can always ask for a redo and do it better. Yeah. Yeah, I can't even comment there. It was a worse mother. Couldn't stop myself. Yeah, that's great. I'm so glad you apologized.
Now, just to speak to that, that is such an awesome experience to have with your kids. Like, as parents, to say, I know I screwed up. I know I could have done this better. The hard part about that is they don't have to accept it. They don't have to get you off the hook. They're having their own journey, their own experience. And you were part, just like my early childhood stuff and everything that I learned is part of my journey. You are part of their journey. So you have to let go of your attachment to whether they're going to forgive you for what you did, or whether they're going to, be able to use it as fuel for it's like, that's their journey. And I can't imagine how difficult that would be if you're in that state of feeling like you didn't do the right thing. But if we can separate ourselves, that we're all human beings and they came in through you because that was the destiny that they had for themselves.
Yeah.
So it's not saying don't grow, don't change, don't do better. It's just saying don't heap that pile of guilt on yourself for the rest of your life, because that diminishes you. You've done what you can. As an adult, they need to decide whether or not that's going to be okay. But they may not ever be okay with it. And that has to be okay.
Yeah. I also, well, I'm being distracted by a cat on my table again. So I'll get back to, let me get back to the right one. Yeah, George. There. Yeah, I like that. As long as you are breathing, you can fix your mistakes. As long as you are breathing, go back and fix them, because it's really good for you and everybody else involved. Nobody dies from apologizing. Yeah, got to do the work.
My mate always says, don't apologize, show me you've changed, right?
Yes.
It's way
Yeah.
more powerful when you change the relationship that you have with your adult kids then. You didn't have a
Yeah.
good one as kids, change it now, but be consistent, keep showing up, right?
Yeah.
Just to say, oh, I'm sorry, not good.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
actually going through the process of growth and change, who knows where that goes.
Oh, Muffin. Let me just take Muffin down. Muffin is trying to steal the show. Okay. Yeah, Linda, you can you can own this one, okay? Right. Right. Okay. Nice cat. Yes, she's very cute, and she likes being on my lap. She's the most loving one. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's do a fast recap. Okay. So if you're taking out your shit on anybody, not only your children, go look for somebody to help you. Go find ways to help you. Um, Layne's got a wonderful book. I've got a wonderful book. We've got lots and lots of free videos that you can watch here and on YouTube. And you've got courses, I've got courses. We're on a mission to help people become aware, I think. I think we can call it that. And so that become really aware that we don't need to live like this, and there's actually much more. So, this is why I'm doing self-esteem work, limiting belief work. I'm focusing very hard on putting an adult child program online, because this addresses all of this. Okay, Layne, so you are, I'm going to ask you just now, let's just check our last comments, and then you're just going to say, just tell people a little bit more about what you're doing, okay?
Okay. What I'm basically doing is helping people to stop sabotaging their lives. And the reason we sabotage is because we've got lies playing on in our subconscious brain that are creating behavior that is not getting us what we want. So when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to your career, when it comes to all kinds of stuff, I work with something called power leaks. And what I'm trying to do is just kind of help you pinpoint where those power leaks are, because I believe that we have come with an intention. We have a very specific gift to bring the world. And when we get rid of all of that stuff that we've learned to believe about ourselves that is based on other people's biases, agendas, behaviors, all of that stuff that kind of screwed us up to start with, we can redeem all of that and create a level of peace and connection in our lives that will be incredibly meaningful. I want to build like tens of thousands of people doing this, because I know we are going to change the world. I look around us right now, and there's so many people who are leaving from such disconnected lives, and they're just doing some really, really dangerous and bad things in the world. And we need people who are actually doing this work, who are living in their power, from authentic power, not stuff that we wield over other people, but that autonomy that says, I am enough and I have something to contribute to the world. So that's what I'm doing. I've got some freebies available to you. I've got a couple of courses, one small and one a little bit more intense, that actually helps you go through a bunch of different areas of your life. And my book is a good catch-all for if you just want to kind of get a test. And I'm also doing a podcast. So that's about me.
Okay, Layne, will you please come back tomorrow on my profile in the chat and come and answer questions and post your details and links to Amazon and everything on there?
I can try. I know that I have some appointments, so it just kind of depends where this fits in.
Okay. All right. Well, you can also go back now and just do it. You don't have to do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right. So let's check our last comments here. And if anybody still have questions, this is time to go and put them on. Okay. So let's see, Linda. Okay. So this is very, very good comment. Okay. The girl that I'd messed up was with me for many years until just recently. I apologize to my son. His reply was just perfect. I know it's not your fault. Thank you, Michelle, Tracy. It's a very big pleasure. I'm planning the next one. I've already started planning the next summit today, which is going to be about adult child syndrome, because nobody knows they have it and everybody's got it. And it's all the invisible stuff that's underlying. So, and there's just not enough awareness. So it's a very big chunk that I'm biting off here to help people to know about something they don't know about. But I'm determined I'm going to do one every single year and keep on growing it, because it will make a real difference in the world. So everybody must look out for that. There's another summit coming. It's going to be very valuable. Okay, there we are. It's a big pleasure, Tracy. Big pleasure, George. Nice to see you. So did we catch you on lunchtime today? We are very lucky. Okay, so right. So for anybody who's on my mailing list, I'm going to send out a special offer on my limiting belief course tomorrow. It's only going to be on my email, so there's a 50% discount on it. And I absolutely recommend that if you have any kind of stuff going on in your life, that you get rid of your limiting beliefs, because they do what they do this thing that they say they do. They limit you. Who wants to be limited? So, let's go and unlimit ourselves so that we can be our awesomest, most best self. Okay, Layne. So give me your best shot parting advice if somebody has to do just one thing today, so that they don't take out the shit on anybody else. Just one short little thing. What can somebody do? Where can we start?
Know that if things aren't going well in your life right now, if they're not going according to plan, there is a reason, and it's in here, and you can get rid of it. Find a teacher. Keep looking until you find somebody who resonates with you, who you can hear, who speaks in the language that you need to hear, and do the work. No matter how long it takes, do it. Because there's freedom on the other side.
Excellent advice, Layne. Love it. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming again. Next week, Tuesday, we'll be back. We'll see who shows up. We never know until we know. And much love to everybody from me and from Muffin, from Layne. See you next week, everybody.